We are joined by Dennis Dodd, Josh Pate, live from Knoxville, Tennessee. Let's dig into this. Just a massive game in this incredible rivalry. First question, Dennis, Josh, what are you hearing? What is your sense officially? Bryce Young is questionable, status up in the air. What are we expecting we will see from Bryce Young? Will he be on the field? Will he be starting? And then if he is, what is our expectation for Bryce Young in terms of his ability to play at a high level?
It's funny because it's the million-dollar question in college football this week. Everyone hedges, and that includes me, so I'm not too proud to tell you I'm doing the same thing. But, Dennis, it feels like everyone has started the answer to the question that we just got asked. Well, he's going to play now. I expect him to play. And then they go, but. And then whatever follows the but, it kind of varies in degrees of what kind of Bryce Young you're going to get. My version of him is enough to operate that Alabama offense, but I kind of think as we dive into this preview here, Nick Saban mentioned a word a lot this week, and I think it was very intentional, and the word was balance. And the only way that you really achieve balance, not statistically, but Tennessee believing you can run or pass it on any down, is if you've got at least a functional enough quarterback to pull the trigger and throw all the balls you normally see him throw. If you can't do that, then all of a sudden that already pretty highly rated Tennessee pass defense gets to key a little bit more, and that's when you get your offensive production thrown into a blender.
We just had Josh Heupel on camera earlier, and I asked him on camera, I said, how do you prepare for two quarterbacks? And he gave the stock answer. You got to be prepared for both. And then when we were off camera, I said, do you know? Don't tell me, but do you know? And he said, no, we really don't know. But I thought, again, Nick Saban gave us a hint this week when he used the words pitch count. Now that to me says he can throw passes, but how many? And if it gets sore, he's coming out. And do you want to put him in and start him if that's the case? If he can only throw 20 passes or pull that arm back 20 times, do you want to start him like that and risk injury? And what do his parents think? And what about the NFL prospects? So I wouldn't just sit there and go, he's going to play. Because as we talked about last week, these things tend to last 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes 6. We don't know the grade. And Nick's going to play it right up to the hilt because last week, I'll say it again, Bryce Young was announced as the starter on the scoreboard in front of 100,000 people and never saw the field.
I just don't remember in the days of Neyland and Bryant reading about pitch counts, reading about parental permission slips. I don't know. Things have changed, Chip. Things have changed.
Yeah, I'll sit here and I'll say it, Dennis. Bryce Young's playing on Saturday. I have no doubt in my mind that he will be on the field and playing. The thing is, with the pitch count, the question is, how are they going to use him? How many passes are they going to throw? And from a game plan-wise, if you're Alabama and you're going up against this Tennessee offense, which moves quickly and likes to put up points in a hurry, maybe you're planning to run the ball a little bit more anyway, just simply to keep that Tennessee offense off the field as much as possible. And we saw, even before Bryce Young suffered the injury, this was an Alabama passing attack that was struggling to find explosive pass plays in the air. We saw him kind of start doing it against an Arkansas secondary that was in shambles heading into that game, and sure looked that way before Young hurt his shoulder and left the game. And of course, we haven't seen it without him. But I think going into this game, if you're Alabama, even if Bryce Young was 100%, the plan is going to be to run the ball a little bit more and lean on the run game. And now when he's not probably going to be say closer to 85%, you're going to be leaning more on the run game. So I think that's what Nick Saban is talking about when he talks about the pitch count and the balance. I think that's just part of the game plan this weekend.
Well, thanks to the magic of the state-of-the-art technology that we have here at CBS Sports HQ, that interview that Dennis Dodd just mentioned with Josh Heupel, you're going to get to see it here before the end of this hour, so make sure to stick around for that. Josh, we have talked a lot, especially with Tennessee this season, that these long rivalries, they sometimes mean more to the fan bases or the generations of fans. But every member of that Tennessee team in that locker room, they haven't beaten Alabama either, on both the grander scale around the stadium at the game, but then also in the locker room. What do you think the impact of Alabama's long winning streak in this series is going to have on the game?
I think it's big, and I don't think they've really hidden from it either. There are going to be kids who drive to this game Saturday who weren't alive the last time that Tennessee won in this rivalry. Again, that's unpleasant to hear. There's no reason to hide from it. There's only one way to change it, and that's to win a game Saturday. But we were up here just a few weeks back when Tennessee took down Florida, And that streak wasn't nearly as long in nature. It's been a little one-sided, but not nearly as long a drought as you've seen against Alabama. And I remember, Dennis, the next night when we did Late Kick back in Nashville, I said, if you were just a casual football fan, you were watching in Olympia, Washington, or Reno, Nevada, and you saw the outpouring of emotion after that game, from a 10.5-point home favorite, it would have made no sense to you. But when you get on the ground, you understand the fabric of this sport, you understand how important tradition and rivalries are, and then in Knoxville, Tennessee, you understand how important it is to beat Florida, something they used to do with a lot more regularity. That was a really big domino to fall. Now, if you get on your calculator and you hit the multiplication times about 10 and then hit equals, that's what it would look like this Saturday if they took down Alabama. And I don't care if you're 16 years old or 60 years old. If you wear orange and white around here, trust me, they get that. They understand it.
This is my greatest example, but I've been saying for a year and a half, NIL doesn't matter, revenue sharing doesn't matter, playoff expansion doesn't matter. When I go to these games, it's all about the games. Nobody cares Bryce Young's making $2 million or whatever he is. It's pure football. And I think almost secondary to the streak, when you start thinking about it, yeah, they want to beat Alabama and smoke cigars really bad. But both these teams are alive for the playoff. Alabama can, quote unquote, afford a loss maybe and, still win the West if they beat Georgia. But Tennessee can lose the game, win the game, lose at Georgia. And if the other two teams win out, you're looking at 3 teams in the playoff. I don't think people have thought about that. Each with 1 loss, Tennessee in second place in the East, and Alabama beating Georgia in the champ game.
And
that's realistic.
It's a really fun scenario for the rest of the country. I think they're really diving into that one.
Yeah, I have a couple.
They will be.
I have a couple cousins who grew up in Nashville. They're huge Tennessee fans. And over the years, when I've been working in this job, every season I'm getting peppered with questions from them about how Tennessee's going to do and about teams like Florida. But for most of the last 15 years, when the Alabama game comes up, I don't get a whole lot of text messages from my cousins. But this year, they've been texting me all week, pinging me for information, anything I might have about this game, wanting to know about what I think of Tennessee's chances to finally break the losing streak. So yes, on the one side, in Knoxville, among Tennessee fans, this is still a huge rivalry, losing streak or not, and they are pumped up for this game. The question is, do Alabama fans still consider this to be as much of a rivalry as Tennessee fans do? Because I think the tide have moved on to other teams in recent years simply because the Vols haven't really provided much of a challenge to them, but that could change tomorrow.
Now it's time to take a look at what's going on in Knoxville. Let's take a look at the home field presented by Verbo. It looks like y'all are right there in the state-of-the-art confines that they have built there for the Tennessee football facility. But you've been out and about around Knoxville. You've been talking with the locals. You've been talking with the natives. Josh, Dennis, what is the sense that you are getting from these fans in terms of what we can expect from that home field advantage in Neyland Stadium?
Well, Dennis, you and I both got here 24-plus hours early today, and yet that didn't stop standstill traffic on I-40 on the way over here. I've been to several big Tennessee games. Don't really remember that happening absent a big wreck on I-40. It's just a lot of anticipation. People, not just around Knoxville, Chip, but you know this, people around the Southeast and people in college football have looked forward to this game because we started to whisper about it a few weeks ago. Really, I felt like when Tennessee took down Florida, people started to exit that stadium and exit that week and that Saturday saying, hold up a second. Now, I'm looking at the schedule. I think Bama's going to be undefeated when they go into Neyland, but hold up. Is that LSU? That LSU game. Can they win that LSU game? If they do, then wow, what a matchup that sets. And all of a sudden we've got it. So this didn't sneak up on people. Maybe nationally it did, but locally, man, they've been ready for this. You know how rarely I use the word frothing, Chip, but they are frothing at the mouth, and there's no bib around here to be found.
Yeah, there'll be some decibel meters tomorrow in Neyland Stadium. I took a drive downtown just to see, and they're having classes on Friday. We know that. Students are walking around. But there was a heck of a lot of fans, and they're ready to go. This place might be number one when it's at full throat, and it hasn't been in recent years, but it's going to be tomorrow, and they are ready for it just to get everybody's appetite whetted. Cross the street and sneak over and try to see the sound check for Keith Urban.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
That's where I hope that Dodfather credential gets me into as well, guys.
Yeah, Keith is going to say, Dennis, yes, and your friend, you all can come backstage. Come on right now. All right. the face of this Tennessee offense, the face of really this Tennessee surge into the national spotlight is quarterback Hendon Hooker. And, he's been around college football for so long, but ever since grabbing a hold of this starting job, he's been fantastic. Since being named the starter, 46 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. Are you kidding me? Dennis, what are the odds that we see Hendon Hooker come out of this game, win or lose, and be a even bigger factor than he is right now in the Heisman Trophy race?
Well, I know we're going to do our picks later, but I think that's the biggest factor in this game. You talked about his pass efficiency, 66 touchdowns, 10 interceptions in his career, counting Virginia Tech. And I did a story on him last week, and I said, where do you get that pass efficiency from? And it's inherent. Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody teaches you that. Don't throw it there now. How about that? And he's really, really good at it. And he's got elite receivers now. Brew McCoy and Jalen Hyatt, I think, are 3rd and 5th in the SEC. That's without Cedric Tillman. He's going to be the guy to 100% that we know. And that might be the difference in the game. Something mentioned about Bryce Young, you can talk about running the ball, but what if you're down by 10 in the fourth quarter? It's going to have to be Bryce to the rescue. So I think, Tennessee's more prepared in that sense for tomorrow.
This is a gigantic recruiting poster for the entire Tennessee program, not the least of which is Josh Heupel. You can go into your living room and sell your vision all you want to. You can make all these fancy graphics, and believe me, they do around here. But if you can just tell a mother or a father or a kid, hey, turn on Hendon Hooker from his previous stop and then watch film of him here, that's what I can do. That's what we can do. And so I don't care if you're getting a kid from the portal in the future or the traditional high school ranks in the future. You don't have to sell vision anymore. Hendon Hooker has executed at a level where Josh Heupel has what we would call proof of product, proof of performance, and you just kind of drop the pop, and that's a really, really inside term that we just made up 5 seconds ago, on folks in recruiting and say, hey, look, that could be you. That could be you. And absolutely, he's the key not only to this game, but he's now one of the most important players in the country because he's one of the most dynamic players in the country.
Yeah, let's not forget real quick, Josh Heupel's coached a few quarterbacks. Sam Bradford. Those recruits won't know who Sam Bradford is, right, but they should. He's got a statue at Oklahoma. He won a Heisman. Milton McKenzie, I think even Dylan Gabriel early in his career. Drew Lock at Missouri. Question, who has the SEC record for most touchdown passes in a career? Drew Lock with 99 under Josh Heupel. So sell that tomorrow as well.
Yeah, I think that as far as the Heisman is concerned, barring an injury, Hendon Hooker is going to be in New York at the end of the year as a Heisman finalist. Now, if he wants to win the award, Tennessee has to win this game. So I think as far as that's concerned, what we can look at for Saturday as far as his Heisman odds and where we want to get on it. But looking even further into the future, I think more than the Heisman, what Hooker has really done this season is improve his NFL draft stock, because this is a quarterback who last year we kind of saw him step into a system, and Dennis, like you've mentioned, Josh Heupel's had a lot of very good quarterbacks in this offense put up numbers. But for me, from what I have seen of Hendon Hooker this year, it's not just playing in the system that's allowing him to put up the numbers. It's his absolute mastery of the offense. He knows everything that's going on in every single play. He's been able to read defenses before the snap, and he knows exactly what's going to be coming at him. He's going to be able to make the decision before the snap, really quick decisions, excellent ball placement on his throws to all levels of the field. To me, more than the Heisman, this is Hendon Hooker saying, look, I'm a guy you can maybe take in the first round of the NFL draft and feel good about it, when in a year where a lot of quarterbacks I don't really think are deserving of that kind of hype are getting it. I think Hendon Hooker deserves a lot more of it.
All right. I mean, let's not waste any more time. Somebody's sitting at home watching CBS Sports HQ saying, when are you going to get to these picks that you keep teasing throughout this segment? So let's break it down. We saw this line stay parked right around 7.5, and here on Friday it is danced out. It touched 9 for a second. We are picking this thing at 8.5 in favor of the Crimson Tide. Over under around 66. Josh Pate, get us started. What is your best bet for this game?
I went with Tennessee, plus any points you want to give me, because I went with them straight up. Now, as much as that line kind of sat at 7 most of the week, I didn't feel like there was any chance we were going to see it rest at 7, because the Jalen Milroe news would have brought it way under a touchdown, and the Bryce Young news, once you finally get it, if you think you've already gotten it, would have ballooned it up more towards 10. So I don't know where that thing's going to crest, maybe towards 9 or 10. I think it'll dance in the morning, but look, I felt like it's the right time all week, and I kind of said regardless of quarterback, because Dennis, when I say regardless of quarterback, I like Tennessee plus the points and Tennessee outright. It's simply because if you unfold the deck of scenarios that we get tomorrow, I don't think there's a card in that deck where you just see a gunslinger, 110% Bryce Young, and because of that, I do think it limits what they can do with him just enough to where Tennessee's run defense, one of the sneakiest good units in the country that doesn't get talked about a lot around here because they can throw the ball very well. I think it matters. I think they limit possessions enough and limit to 3s instead of 7s enough to where they pull off the upset. And, man, if they do, we may not get home till like Tuesday.
We're thinking along the same lines. I like Tennessee straight up. I think tomorrow they've got a great chance to be the most explosive offense on the field. Alabama has tried in the last 2 weeks. They've been explosive in the run game, and I think that's the biggest difference in that offense, with or without Bryce Young. I think that'll be slowed down tomorrow because Tennessee, as we mentioned off camera, Tennessee's kind of sneaky good against the run. They're 11th in the country, allowing 89 yards per game. And at home with Hendon Hooker, with a questionable Bryce Young, I think Tennessee straight up. I think it's a feeling. I think this is their time.
Listen, I don't know who's going to win this game, and I'm very happy to say that because we really haven't had the chance to say that about this rivalry for a very long time. I'm going to attack the total. I'm going to go on the under because I think that this total is just a little bit too high because as we talked about earlier in the segment, I think that with Bryce Young probably not being at 100%, Alabama's planning to lean more on the run game anyway, also in an effort to keep that Tennessee offense off the field. And while Tennessee's run defense has been solid so far this season, I think part of that is just from the fact that teams can't afford to run the ball against it because they've got to try to keep up on the scoreboard, and Tennessee's putting up points way too quickly. So I think Alabama's going to have success doing that. And on the other side, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Tennessee lean more on its run game simply because Will Anderson is a monster that you have to figure out a way to slow down. The best way to slow Will Anderson down? Slow down the pass rush by running the ball more and making him not allowing him to pin his ears back and just go get Hendon Hooker. So I think this is going to be not a boring game or a low-scoring game. I just don't think we're going to get into the 60s, so I'm taking the under.
Give me the under as well. This is a preposterous number for a game of this magnitude. There's so much weight that just going to be on top of all the things that are unfolding in Neyland Stadium on Saturday. I think we get tight butts. I think we get missed kicks. I think that we see both of these coaches at some point, whoa, like we gotta calm things down. These players need to get under control. There's too much on the line for me to think that this is just a downright out of the box kind of shootout. So it might be a little sweaty. Tennessee gets off the fast starts. We saw Alabama actually get off to a fast start at Arkansas, breaking that streak of bad road starts on the offensive side of the football. So might be a little sweaty, but hey, that's what we're here for. Give me the under as well. Our thanks to Josh Pate and Dennis Dodd. You will get to hear more from them and Josh Heupel in a little bit. And you can see Josh Pate with the Late Kick with Josh Pate every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday at 8 p.m. live on YouTube and Facebook.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.